Good evening. This is the first time we have gone live direct to YouTube. So if you are joining us for the first time, good evening and welcome. My name is Zoe Thompson. I am Phoenix Life and Wellbeing Coaching, and you're joining Fire 5 at Phoenix. It's a bit like a podcast, but there is a slight difference in that the guests will be asking me the questions. And I haven't seen them. So I am joined by Julie this evening. Julie is a coach and mentor from the Mum Almighty. And Julie has brought with her 5 questions. So we have a topic of the month for November, which is about managing our emotions. So all of the chats this month will be on that topic. And Julie is our first guest. She gets first pick of the questions. So Julie, do you want to introduce yourself, let people know who you are?
Yeah, well, as you already said, I'm Julie Hartell and I founded the Mum Almighty. And the Mum Almighty is a one-to-one coaching support entity. That is me. And I support mums who have been on their motherhood journey, on maternity leave, or they've been taking a long time off, a career break, or they've been helping a loved one if they've been sick. So they've had some time away from their workplace or their job, and they're considering going back to their original job or a new career, and that frightens them. It makes them feel a bit anxious and they're worried, and you know, the person who they were pre-mum isn't the same person as they are now. And so what I do is I help those mums go back to work and navigate back with more confidence, more support, so they can hold up their head high when they walk through the corridors, they go to the water cooler and feel really good about themselves and hit the ground running. So that helps their confidence. It also helps their employer as well, so that they feel confident that they can do the job that they were employed to do and do it well and excel and feel good. And that has a knock-on effect at home as well. So yeah, yes, that's who I am.
It's wins all round, isn't it? Individual and the organisation, and then the rest of the family as well. I could have done with you when I went back to work when my son was 6 months. So yeah, could have done with you. So we will put some links in so people can find you and have a look to see more about what you do.
Okay.
For now, have you got 5 questions for me?
I have. I'm just going to call them up now because I wrote them down on my notes online. Okay. Questions number 1. So emotions and feelings are, as we all know, vitally important for the human connection. And as we are just about in the UK to enter lockdown phase 2, the impact of this on people's lives can cause a myriad of emotions, and anxiety and stress, worry, sadness, and depending who they are, it could be boredom, anger, loneliness, and frustration, to name a few. So what would be your top 3 pieces of advice for those who struggle to keep positive and who can't keep their emotions in check?
Oh, it's a good first question. And it's so timely. I mean, the lockdown and isolation has come up. I think we've covered a different topic every month doing these, and it has taken one of the questions, I think, on every one of these, and it's just it's impacting so many different areas, isn't it? And I think the emotions is definitely part of it. So what 3 tips to help those emotions, help people control those emotions? Okay, so it may well end up in one long answer with a few tips in there, but I think the important thing first is to take notice of what those emotions are. So I think it's a very British thing, isn't it? Of, you know, must not be emotional, must stay strong, and must not display any emotions. And I think that is quite a British thing. But I think the first thing definitely is to just take some notice, take time to ask, what are these emotions and what is it they're trying to tell me? I do think emotions are a bit like, I was describing it to somebody this week, it's a bit like a warning light on a car. And I think we all have a tendency to just try and ignore it and hope it will go away. But we all know, don't we, that if you ignore the warning light on the car, eventually the car stops. And so you have to take notice. And I think emotions are very similar in that sense. So I think the first thing is just, even if it's just with a pen and a bit of paper, just write down, what is it you feel? And then just call it out. I feel, this is what I feel. And there's no guilt, no judgment for any of that. Emotions are what they are, and you'll feel different things at different times. I think that's the first thing, is take notice of what they are. And then probably the second tip to follow on from that is to try and think about, what is it it's trying to tell you. So you've got your warning light, you've got a page full of what your warning light is saying, but what is it pointing to? What is it you need to pay attention to? So whatever those emotions are, and we will all feel different emotions, different responses. So we're all going through the same thing, but we're all being impacted very differently. So what are those emotions trying to tell you? And what can you do about it? Are there things in there that you can take control of? Are there things in there that are out of your control? Managing them. So I guess the third bit around, how do you actually manage them? So we have that initial response, but then we have that emotional state. So we get to choose. We don't necessarily get to choose how we respond initially, but we do get to choose how long we hold on to that for. So, I spoke to somebody this afternoon who said they like to go and have a long hot bath. That's their thinking time. But when they get out of the bath, that is their sign that thinking time is over. Flip the switch. What mood do I want to be in? What do I want to go and do that will help me to feel in a different way? So I think, have a think, acknowledge it, look at what it is, what is it trying to tell you, and then give it some time to think about it, but draw a line under that, because holding on to that emotional response isn't always healthy, it isn't always helpful. So what do you want to feel, and what can you do that will help you feel something different? Is that 3? I think that's
that's good. Sometimes I think it's hard for people to acknowledge that at first before they can take a step sometimes. And sometimes it takes someone telling you, or you telling someone else, that actually this is happening.
And I wonder how many people who watch this now or watch this back who think, actually, I do that in the reverse order. I try to make myself feel something different. Then I try and work out what I can fix or what I can make better. And then eventually I'll start thinking about, okay, what is going on here? But if we don't do it in the first order, then physically or mentally, things will start to happen, and we will be forced to do it in a order.
You're right. I think you're right. You're good. You passed the first test.
Thank you.
So my second question is a personal question for you, Zoe. So when have you felt the emotion of demotivation with your own business, and how have you managed it, and how have you overcome that?
I'm really lucky, actually, because I really love what I do. So so this is my 4th year of doing this full time. Obviously did bits before. I haven't really struggled with that motivation. And I wonder if this ties into the conversation that I had with somebody else when we were talking about physical activity. Is that what comes first? Is it the discipline or the motivation? And I do wonder whether just years of previous work experience of that sort of showing up and getting things done and working through lists and schedules and all the rest of it, whether that's helped kind of create that behavior of get up in the morning and get on with work. But I think there are some days where I don't feel as motivated as others. Normally kind of like now, the first week of the month, where the finance and admin stuff needs to be done. But I do try and break up my tasks a little bit across the week and across the month, so that I don't end up with whole days of doing things that I don't enjoy. But no, I have to be honest, I don't really struggle to be motivated. So I mean, always worked from home.
Yeah.
I've always been online. So I haven't
Yeah.
had to struggle with that challenge of working from home.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, there are some days where I come and get the laptop and get back into bed with a coffee, and I'll sit and do graphics, or I'll sit and do bits and pieces that don't feel as much like working.
Yeah.
But no, most of the time, I'm not a morning person, so I'm not. Don't get the impression I'm bouncing in here at 8 o'clock in the morning. That is not happening. But there's not that feeling of I don't want to do it today. I do schedule in as much downtime as possible, and that's one thing I have found really hard with the lockdown, of the things that I would normally go and do to make up work aren't happening. So stopping and not working, that's been more of a challenge, because I just keep going. So
is that advice that this is a sort of a separate question, just
everybody's sneaked one in at some point.
Is that the kind of advice that you give your clients as well, that when they are feeling that demotivation, that they inject some downtime and some other activities that help them become more motivated?
I think it fits. I mean, it is an emotion in itself, isn't it? And I think it's trying to tell you something, and it is also a sign of overwhelm and burnout. So I think to not pay attention to it would go against every other bit of advice that I would give. I think do pay attention to it, and actually, have you had some time out? But also then you get into the questions of, okay, do you need to make some changes? Are you demotivated because this isn't in alignment with what it is you want to do? Have you gone off course? There's lots of other questions to ask there. But I think, again, if you go back to the answer from the first question of what is the emotion demotivation? Are there other emotions attached to that? What is it trying to tell you? And what can you start to do about it? So it is a sign. But I think sometimes it's just a sign that you just need to listen to what your head and body is telling you. Take a day off and go and do something fun, or something different that gives you a different, complete change of mental and physical state, and go and do something different. And
sometimes that's a struggle for some people, to not feel guilty about doing that, don't they? If they feel like, actually, I shouldn't be putting myself first. Especially if they've got kids like me, you always think that you should be doing something for your kids, and if not, you're really bad. But telling yourself that actually that's not the case, you should be putting yourself first, is the best thing they can do.
And I bet if we had £1 for every time people that we worked with used the word guilt and guilty, we would be with cocktails in Barbados somewhere, I suspect. But guilt, I think guilt is definitely a wasted emotion. I don't think anything helpful comes of guilt. I don't think it helps anybody to feel guilty. But you're right, a lot of people do, but you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't be happy. Your children can't be happy if you're not happy. So it all adds in.
No, you're right. Good second answer. Well done.
And third, sneaky extra.
Oh yes, sorry. Right, my next question, I'll quickly move on. So even though I'm quite a happy, smiley person, I suffered in my past with symptoms of emotional detachment towards both of my children. When I became a mum for the second time, that happened, and it was due to having postnatal depression, but not really realizing that's what it was until about 2 years down the line. Why do you think some people actively choose to be unwilling to connect with others, whether they're babies or adults, on an emotional level? And what would be your advice for them if they're wanting to overcome this?
So the connection with their children.
So if in some cases, so for me, I was unwilling to connect with them, and I couldn't understand why I was unwilling, and I just thought there was something wrong with me. So where there are people that are willing to not connect emotionally, either, it doesn't have to be with children, that was just my experience, or unwilling to emotionally connect with others, but that it would be better for them to connect with others. what would be your advice for helping them to get on that first rung of the ladder of emotionally connecting? That's a hard one, isn't it?
It is a tough one. And I think the reason why I'm finding it tough is the word unwilling.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure for a lot of people it might feel like an unwilling, but it might actually be more of an unable to, or just not having the tool, not knowing how to, or not knowing how to show up as a parent. And
it's emotional intelligence, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think there's this whole narrative, isn't there, around, when you're expecting, you go through the hormones, and being a mum is very natural, and it will all come to you when they're born. And that's not reality for everybody. We're all trying to work it all out. Mine's 18, still trying to work it all out. It's a forever evolving job, isn't it? Being a forever evolving role. And so I think it's the word unwilling is what I am trying to unpick for me, because I think sometimes it might show up as unwilling, but it might be an unable, because
and I think that was how it was for me.
There's a lack of energy elsewhere, or there's a fear. Quite often, there's people are worrying about if there's so many other things that go on, isn't there? But it's that fear of attachment is mostly around fear of loss, that if I attach myself in this relationship with this person or with this child, and then I lose that attachment, it's the fear of loss overrides the fear of attachment.
So you're giving me goosebumps, because you've just described, sorry for interrupting, but you've just described how I was feeling. Oh, I'm going to get emotional. But I think it felt like I was unwilling, but you're right, I was scared to make that jump to connect with them in case I failed as a mother. And so if I detached myself, then I already knew that, I wasn't going to fail. So I just couldn't, I didn't have to show that emotion. But yeah, you're right, making me tear up.
Sorry, it wasn't intentional.
Sorry,
but you can apply that for so many other scenarios, can't you? Of the fear of failure means we step back and we don't step in. And actually it's the fear of failure, the fear of loss, the fear of not getting it right, the fear of the damage we might do to somebody because we don't know what we're doing. It's all of those things. And so it was the word unwilling that threw me. But I think ultimately the fear is there. So there's you can work through the rationalization of fear. But I think ultimately, especially with parenting, it's forever evolving. So if you can step into it now when they're newborn, but then when they're toddlers, you'll be faced with a new set of challenges. When they're teenagers, there's a whole other set of challenges.
So I know it.
Now, when you get through that, there's another set of challenges again, because although they're not needing you in the same role, you have to then work out, well, what do I do now? Now I'm not needed, and now I've grown this like adult. What do I do? So I think with any attachment or with building any relationship, there's always, I think, a small amount of fear. I think for a lot of us, it's more just previous experience of whether or not we embrace that fear, because we know that there's a huge amount of benefits that will compensate.
That's unknown, isn't it, as well? Not knowing it, and then when you're in that sort of anxious thinking, you think just the worst thing's going to happen to stop you taking action.
And so I think it's that the especially with parenting, it's that recognition and acknowledgement, isn't it, of you are never fully going to know what you're doing, so just get on with it. It's that acceptance mindset, isn't it, of you're never going to know what you're doing, you're never going to know whether or not you've done the right thing, and you're never fully going to know whether you have said and done the right thing on multiple occasions. So ultimately, for me, especially around parenting, it's that acceptance of you do what you can with what you know, at the time of what you feel is best. And you're always going to be reflecting on that and wondering whether or not that was the case. But I think it's just that acceptance, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That was good.
Did I answer the question?
You did, and you made me tear up as well. So well done. Thank you.
It's a very emotional.
Yeah, topic. I'm managing my emotions here.
You don't need to on my part. And I'm sure that there will be others who watch this back, and this will resonate with them. And I think your honesty and sharing your experiences will resonate, and the work that you do will help other people, for that support. That I think it's similar for both of us, isn't it? We're now putting ourselves in roles where we can support other people who've had experiences, because we know how that feels.
Yeah, it's life-changing. It's life-changing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. All right, you ready for your next question?
I am.
In my previous career working in the corporate world for a bank, I regularly encountered people who I felt at the time didn't manage their emotions very professionally. And they came across to me as angry people. So there's two parts to this question. So this can be question 3. Oh no, 4, sorry. How would you advise someone to manage a person who appears angry and someone that's not aware of the impact of their words and their tone? So that's part 1, and then I'll do the next one.
Okay, so if you're a manager and it's somebody on your team, in a work environment, that's a good question. And I think what comes to my mind with that is that it's perception, isn't it, of the way people behave, the way people communicate. It's a perception. So different cultures communicate in different ways. So what you might perceive as angry from one person, somebody else might perceive as passionate or animated. So and that's where it's kind of, okay, what is this? So I think from a professional point of view, it's that open, you've got to start that conversation, haven't you, of but again, the way you would word that, you would need to make sure that it's you're communicating what your observation is, not that it's fact. It's okay, I'm seeing a change. It seems you're coming across as more angry. Is that how you feel? Of not accusational, but almost like, this is what I'm seeing. Have I got this wrong, or is there something going on that you want to talk about? And I think that's the difficult thing, is that because it's an emotional topic, it's an emotive topic, and people have a tendency to get defensive. So it's more that, again, that style of communication, isn't it? Of this is what I'm seeing. This is how I'm interpreting it. Is this right, or is it something else? Or even if it's just, I'm noticing a change in behavior, if that's what it is. But ultimately, then it might be, again, is it welfare? Is it training? Is it discipline? It's always these 3 manager questions, isn't it? Of, what am I dealing with here? Is it something that's going on that's troubling them, that they're not in control of how they might normally control their behavior? Or do they not have the skills to be able to communicate in a different way or control their behavior? Or is it that discipline that they're just choosing not to because they don't care? So that certainly when I was managing, those were always the 3 questions for me: is it a welfare? Is it training? Is it discipline? Calling out what you see and how you perceive it, and then asking them if that's like an accurate, is that right? Is it something else? What's going on?
It's funny, I try and adopt the same sort of process with my children, saying, I sense you're feeling a bit angry, and they're like, don't do your coaching thing on me, it doesn't work. I'm like, oh, Okay, sure.
You wait until they get to the age where they pick up on what you're doing and play it back to you when you're least expecting it. So my son's favorite is, I don't make you feel like that. You choose your response. You choose how you respond to this.
Oh,
I'm not making you feel anything.
oh dear.
So
you got
to manage that to look forward to.
I've got all that to look forward to. Brilliant. So,
yes, you do.
So I think it's my last question now, isn't it?
Was there a second part to that one?
Well, it's sort of not. It's sort of. No, it's probably my last question, I think.
Okay.
So, bearing in mind that there's an angry person. Well, actually, let me word it a different way. So men and women are very different individuals. They are different beings. They manage their emotions in different ways. And women tend to shoot from the hip, and they are very open with their emotions, tend to be, not all women. And men tend to, they are aware of their emotions, but they tend to keep them in check, or they hide them. What would your suggestion be? I've changed this last question actually. What would be your suggestion for a couple who can't connect emotionally because the woman says he doesn't, he's not in touch with his emotions, he doesn't open up, he won't talk to me, and the man says, well, I'm perfect, there's nothing going on, I don't know what you're on about, I haven't got any problems, if I had a problem I'd talk to you, but I don't have a problem. But he's not showing her the emotions that she wants to see. What would your advice be for them?
Ooh, that's such a good question, and very well timed actually, because on the Thrive program that's running at the moment, this week we are looking at the relationship with ourselves, the relationship with other people, and as part of that we look at the masculine feminine energy, so left brain right brain behaviors, and we also as a little side extra look at love languages, and the whole communication for people fascinates me. So I think when somebody, and again I guess this goes for parents and children as well, because it's a different style of communication, isn't it? And we want to encourage people to communicate in a way that's comfortable for them, and we want to encourage people to communicate when it's comfortable for them, because it's not the same for everybody. So I know that I'm not a talker. When I'm trying to work stuff out, I'm not a talker. I go in and I work it all through, and then when I've dealt with it, then I might share it with somebody, if I choose to share it at all. My son is the same. He'll take time out, he'll work it all through. When he's worked it all through, then he'll come and talk. So I can understand that from his perspective because it's similar to mine. But if he was, had a different way of dealing with it and he was a talker, then, it would be recognizing the difference. So I think with any of these communication differences or processing differences, it's working out what is it you need from them, what is it you need to see or you need to hear, because that's almost a different issue, isn't it, of somebody feeling uncomfortable because somebody else isn't communicating their emotions or
their expectations.
So it's almost like it's that lost in translation, isn't it? Because you've got two people who feel what they feel, and you've got two people who communicate that in different ways, and then it gets lost in translation. So for me, I think the question is asking them to share, okay, how do you process this? Of that, it needs to be approached with that sort of genuine curiosity of, okay, this is not how I work things through. So can you explain to me how you do this? Because when we understand, because the concern from the other person is that they're suppressing something, or they're not dealing with something, or they're feeling something that they can't communicate.
Yeah.
That's the mostly the concern, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think if we approach it with that curiosity of, okay, this is not how I would do it, so I need to understand, can you help me to understand how you do this, so that at least then I know that you are working it through. Maybe there's a way that they can meet in the middle, so it's not it's a step forward for that one person in, okay, I will share this because then I know that it will help you to feel more reassured. But
it's a kind of compromise, isn't it, then, really, what you're describing?
So it's almost that I will share this, or I will communicate this in this way to help reassure you, or to help you, take away what you're worrying about. Then in exchange, I need you to respect that this is how I process it, that this is how I deal with it. And that goes both ways of, for it probably more, it's probably more the case for somebody who doesn't share and who doesn't talk it through. But I think there's a lot there out there, isn't there, at the moment, of that talking is healthy, and you need to talk things through, and you need to communicate, and you need to share. And not everybody is comfortable with that. Not everybody wants to express their feelings, and that's okay too. When it's not creating a negative, or when it's not creating a negative. So I think it's understanding and then respecting.
That's good.
That two people might process things differently. I think it's just that genuine curiosity, isn't it? Of not making assumptions that something is wrong, or something is being suppressed, or that something is not being managed, and that, but it's calling out your emotions of how you feel when that happens. So it's almost, I respect that that's how you do it. However, when you do that, or when you don't do that, I feel this. How can we meet in the middle, that I'm not forcing you to feel uncomfortable to make me feel comfortable, but I'm not being uncomfortable because you're comfortable.
I think that's the key point, is not making the other person doing what you do. So I'm a talker. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'll talk anyone to death. Whereas my husband, he does exactly what you do and your son does. So he will unpick everything in his mind, and so we'll go sort of a bit reclusive and quiet. And so I think, something wrong, because he's not talking. And I don't know if there is an issue, and even when I ask him, no, there's nothing wrong. But he's concentrating, he's trying to unpick it, this spaghetti in his brain. And then, hours later, he'll go, oh, I'm really sorry that I didn't speak to you later. I was just thinking about A, B, and C. And then I feel bad for thinking, and I'm worrying, thinking, what could be wrong? And then really there's nothing wrong with that. He's just thinking, taking time out to work out a process. And but as a woman, we worry about what they might be doing, what they might be thinking about, and we over worry and create these negative illusions that aren't actually there. So I've learned to give
that's the overthinking. And that's the overthinking, isn't it? When we don't have enough information to process what we're trying to process, we overthink all of the possible options that might fit into the equation that we're trying to come up with. When my son was little, so in a similar way, like, he would go from 0 to 60 in like anger, frustration quite quickly. So we had an agreement that he would call time out. So that was my signal that I need to go. I either need to walk away, or I need to go and think something through. But the agreement and the promise that we had was that he would always, when he'd worked it out or calmed down, or whatever was going on for him, that he would then come and have a conversation with me, and that I would respect him walking away to have that space on that reassurance that when he was ready to talk about it, he would come and talk. And that took a little while to work that bit out, but it was
good, very healthy way. And I think I might have made this mistake with trying to force my children to be the same as me, to talk about it now. And actually they're sometimes so het up and so angry and like this, that they don't know what to say. And you can see it, you can read it on their faces, and having that time out is perfect. That's exactly what they need.
I think one thing I would pick up on is the response of there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And change that to, even if it's like a code word of spaghetti brain mum.
Yeah.
And then you know then that they've gone away to go and untangle the spaghetti brain. But I think that's the only thing I would pick up on is the response of saying there's nothing wrong, which may or may not be an honest response. So it's helping them to feel comfortable enough to say, working some stuff out, but I'm good, I'm okay, rather than there's nothing wrong, because there's you know that there's something, but you need that reassurance that they're okay. They just want space to work it out. So it's, you know, even if it's
my husband what you said, so
even if it's just spaghetti brain, or just working things through, I'll update you later, but I'm okay. You want the reassurance that
and I think also, I know I keep mentioning mums, I mean, I work with mum, I am a mum, you just want to make sure everyone's all right, and you want to make sure everyone's happy, and when they're not communicating, you just think the worst, don't you? So no, that's great. I think that's a really
but that's because when thinking the worst is that it's going through your filter of when I behave or respond like this is what it would mean for me. So that filter, isn't it, of this, and again this goes back to the last question around, you know, somebody coming across as angry, that's because this is what when I'm angry, this is what I look like, but actually that might not be what their angry looks like. So again, it's that when I see you do this is what it means to me, this is how I translate it. What does it mean for you? And it's that but you're right, you know, whether it's your mum hat, your manager hat, your partner hat, that's what you want, the best for people, don't you? You want people to feel comfortable enough to be able to talk to you if they wanted to, but also respecting the fact that they might not want to do that on your schedule.
No, that's right. Like, I know.
I've got 10 minutes. Could you communicate with me, please? Because
I am a bit like that as well. I can fit you in now. Just talk now. Go. Oh dear.
But that's the tough thing, isn't it? Of everybody works it through at this, and also the same pace. You know, sometimes some like real reflectors take a couple of days to work.
I know. And I'm a fixer. I want to get it out, get it sorted, find a solution. And everybody's not like me. Not everybody.
No. And also, not everybody wants a solution, do they? Sometimes people just want to be heard. So it's like, okay, are we? Am I problem solving here? Or am I just listening? Like,
no, exactly. You hit the nail on the head there.
And but that's the other thing as well, isn't it? Especially, I'm the same. It's like, okay, let's just take control of it. Let's put it into action. But actually, some people just want to be heard, don't they? Again, that's like, okay, I don't need you to deal with this. I don't need you to answer this. I just need you to listen, and that's a tough one.
I know it is, but it's a strong thing to do, and it really does mean a lot to that person if you do sit there and listen. And usually, I mean, if you're there in person with them, it ends up in a hug anyway, because they feel listened to, when perhaps they thought that you weren't listening.
Well, that's the thing around problem solving, isn't it? Is to be able to truly listen and hear and understand and not be working out all of the different solutions that you can give them, makes the conversation then about you rather than about them. And that's a tough one. I catch myself doing it all the time. It's a very human response, isn't it, to want to make things better for people.
No, that's good. Well done. That was great.
Oh, thank you. And in good time too. I know what two of us are like, so I was wondering how long this might go on for.
Very well.
And so there is a comment on there to say thank you. You're very brave, Julie.
From Samantha. That's really kind.
Love and appreciation there for you. And again, honesty and sharing your experiences, isn't it? Because I know it will resonate with other people. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time. And
you're absolutely welcome. I've put my links in the private chat, but do I need to put that somewhere else?
Okay, I will, when this goes up onto YouTube, and it will go up on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, I will link in
everywhere.
I will link in all of your socials so people can come and find you.
In fact, this has been such an honour for you to ask me to do this, and I've really enjoyed it. Can we do it again tomorrow?
You can come back. I'm really enjoying doing these, so I'm mapping out what other topics we can bring into the mix. And great. Come back.
I feel like I'm getting free coaching. I'm going to bring my husband on next time. We'll do managing relationships. Julie's always right.
On live as well.
Yeah.
That would be brave. That would be brave. Oh, brilliant. Right. Well, thank you so much. So we will be back again next week. Same topic, new guest, and a new set of 5 questions. Thank you very much for watching. If you're watching back, feel free to ask any questions either in the comments, or if you need to private message a question over, feel free to do so. And we will see you very soon.
Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you.